Hello, hello. It's Quinn
Hello,
and
hello.
Keela.
Hello.
Hello. We
What
are
up, what up,
doing,
what
oh my
up?
God, stop.
I gotta do some more push-ups.
So he's the silly one, as you can see. I mean, I can be silly too, but just not right now. Not right now, you know?
Yeah, she's really not that funny.
Okay, you guys.
We'll laugh that one off.
Okay. Day 2. Congrats.
Yes.
Congrats. And I also wanted to say something. If you missed day 1, you can always catch up and go back to it. You know, this is not a race, even though we're closing this in 30 days, but you have these questions for life. So yeah, you can always go back to it. So this is day 2. So what's the second question?
Well, recap. The first question was, what is your relationship with love? And this one is going to build on that. And it is, how do insecurities play a role in your relationships?
Ooh.
Yes, spicy.
Spicy.
And before you even start writing, before you start jotting things down, before your mind starts racing and your emotions grab a hold and it goes 200 miles per hour like an F1 race car, remember in the first video that in the last question, when you think of the questions, you want to be able to organize it. Right? You want to be able to structure it. You want to be able to have it flow and be organized. So that's where we mentioned in the last, video, answer your questions in these 5 areas, these 5 pillars that I call them: emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially. So, for example, today's question is, how do insecurities play a role in your relationships, right? So you can rephrase that and say, how do insecurities play a role in your emotional relationships, right? Physical relationships, mental relationships, spiritual relationships, and financial relationship. See, that's a simpler way to break it down, because these are loaded questions.
Yes.
See, these are not just yes or no, one answer fits all. They are loaded questions where you can answer it in a variety of ways. And this is a great way to organize it. Because remember, one of the goals is to be able to take all of this, well, this is missing hair, but I mean, all of your emotions, all of your thoughts, be able to grasp it, see it, feel it, and then articulate it into words, so you can become a better communicator, so you can be better and more in tune with your emotions.
Totally.
See, so when that happens, you can articulate the words so people can understand you better, and henceforth, better relationships, stronger relationships with love, stronger relationships with your family, stronger relationships with yourself, stronger relationships just across the board. So there goes.
Yeah. Was there a hint on there or a tip on there? If you look on your phone.
Let me check real quick.
And while he is checking, it made me think of my decision makings
Yes.
as well when I'm insecure in those areas. But yes, okay.
The tip is, does
is-
it create friction? Does it make you argumentative and volatile?
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
so that is the tip. You know?
Yeah. And I'll use myself for an example. The times where I've gotten into arguments with my past partners, for an example, it was because they weren't filling me up emotionally, mentally. Because I had that, because I don't give it to myself, thus being insecure in those areas.
Right. So that's why you need it.
Yes, I felt secure when someone else gave it to me. And so we would argue because I now have these expectations on this person, and when it's not there, especially when I need it, I will throw a fit, I will bring it up, and then the other person is feeling reactive, there we go. And there's the friction, there is the argument.
Exactly.
And then like even further, like when we are unable to express ourselves in a way, in those category ways or in those ways, it's hard for the other person to even hear us, listen to us, and the friction continues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is the thing. really, really think, really, really feel, how those insecurities play a part in your emotions.
Yeah.
How do your insecurities play a part with your physical self? Like we mentioned in the video before, insecurities in our body, in our physical idea of ourselves, plays a gigantic, colossal role in the way we try to protect ourselves. You see, because if we have a poor image of ourselves, what are we doing? We're either joking about it, we're either being super guilty and shameful about it. So we will lash out, or we will just become completely closed and super defensive. You see, which can, in both cases, make people argumentative and very volatile, So
Yeah. I'm thinking about some decisions that I made where, I wasn't happy with my physical appearance, because if I don't feel good in it, then I'm comparing it to everybody else, what it should look like. And I just remember doing anything that I can to save money, to go out and buy makeup, to go out and buy the clothes that would help me fit in with the crowd, to buy hair dye. I even went out stealing.
Right.
So I was so insecure that I put aside the morals, I put aside a lot of stuff, which caused friction with my parents, for an example, because they're like, why are you doing this? And they don't understand. And so there we go, more friction, because I'm operating from a place of insecurities.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and see the way that she's able to be able to explain that in the video that we're providing right now, that's because she has come to be able to accept, and because she's been able to accept it, see it for what it is, and then be able to share it without being triggered, without feeling the guilt, without feeling the shame. See, that's what we have for a goal for you as well, to be able to articulate whatever it is that you've gone through and be able to share it freely, so that others can relate with you, so that others can better understand you, so you can get across who you really are without people, and here it goes, judging you unfairly. You see? Yeah,
that's very powerful. And this is only day 2, so you can imagine, as you spend more time with you, answering these questions, watching this video, getting coaching, you can see how you start to really express yourself in a way that is understandable, even for yourself, right? Because if you can understand what you're saying, perhaps the next person will be able to understand you too.
Exactly.
And especially get into this habit of listening to yourself and then expressing, especially these hard feelings. That's why we have these questions.
Exactly.
To help you do that.
So again, to recap, today's question is, how do insecurities play a role in your relationships? And the tip is, what was the tip?
Does it cause friction?
Yes. Does it create friction?
Make you argumentative?
Or volatile.
Volatile.
You see, with your emotional self, with your physical self, mental, spiritual, and financial. See, these are just 5 areas that are just the starting points that insecurities, with money, with yourself, with your mental health, with your physical health, with your romantic and friend and whatever relationships, it creates friction and volatility when we feel scarce, when we feel insecure in these areas. So what normally happens when we feel insecure? We become defensive, right? People become defensive, or perhaps they do become defensive. They will lash out. They will be quiet. They shut people out. They hole up. I hear that from a few friends often, where things aren't going right, when they're not feeling great about themselves, and the insecurities are building up, and they're feeling overwhelmed, and they're feeling shameful, and they're feeling guilt. They just hole up.
Yeah, and also I wanted to add, will cause you to do some selfish acts without considering other people around them, which causes the friction, argumentative.
Exactly.
Because you just look really selfish because you're just worried about filling up that insecurity somehow.
Right. and that's okay. And that's okay. Because remember, one of the main goals is to just be able to put these thoughts, get these emotions out, so you can actually hear it, so you can actually feel it, so you can actually organize it, so you can actually articulate it. Because when it's out there, when you can actually extract it, when you can dig it out, when you can talk about it freely. And see, and this is the thing, it doesn't have to be with anybody, it just has to be with yourself. Journaling, and this is the first step. We got other strategies that you can utilize, but this is the first one. So, with that said, always love from me to you. Hella smiles. This is the quick win for the win. I'm the Pineapple. I go by Happy. Stay magical, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you tomorrow.